This week on Cooking with Kevin, Chef Kevin gets you ready for any of your sporting festivities, sharing his triple layer nachos. Headlining this recipe is ground turkey for a leaner taste and fresh vegetables. He also shares a trick of using salsa con queso. Welcome back, and we have a fun episode planned today. As you can tell, I'm not in my usual dress code, but we are celebrating Super Bowl season, and I'm going to teach you one of my favorite recipes that is sure to make the greatest Super Bowl party that you've ever had. I'm sure that your guests will be raving about it. We are doing triple layer nachos, and we're going to use a ground turkey meat, so it's a little leaner. As our focus this season is going to be more healthier options. Alright, so let's get down to business. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by first grabbing some ground turkey. I just have some Foster's Farms fresh ground turkey that I got down at the local Roth's Fresh Markets, but you can really find this at any grocery store that you choose to shop at. And I'm going to put that in here at about medium heat. And let that start browning. Make sure that you wash your hands after touching raw meat. A lot of bacteria. All right. So we're going to just break this up into crumbs, make it to the consistency of ground beef. While you're browning this, what you can do is you can get the refried beans started. I used refried pinto beans that are organic and vegetarian, but realistically, you can use whatever refried beans you would like. Rosarita is a good brand. Even Taco Bell has their beans. But this is what I'm choosing to use. I feel it's a little healthier. It's organic. And then we're going to be doing a cheese sauce for added gusto and flavor in the end. I'm using the Mission Salsa con Queso. And I like to heat it up so it's a little bit more liquidy and I can drizzle it over the top. So we'll have that one heating up as well on low because it can burn to the bottom. And then I have the beans. I started at medium heat, got it to where it was starting to bubble, turned it down to low. So then it is ready. And so get those started, and I'll continue to brown this turkey meat. So while we're browning this turkey meat, I'm going to send it over to Julie, who's give us another week of another great fact. What do you have for us, Julie?
Hi, Julie here with some tips. I can't wait to try the nachos. I bet you can't either. My tip for the nachos is be careful of what chip you use. When I'm not eating nachos and I'm just eating tortilla chips, I like the thin and crispy type, but those aren't always the best when you make nachos because you need a thicker chip to withstand the weight. Otherwise you can end up with kind of that soggy type of nachos, and that I really believe the crunch is important to have really spectacular nachos. The other thing is with cheese, don't put just chunks on it. Make sure you grate the cheese. And surprisingly, the higher grades of, let's say, sharp cheese, it is actually not as good because the better grades of real cheddar sharp cheese will be rather dry. So a good blend is Monterey Jack with the sharp for kind of more of an accent taste. Let's see what else here that I can give you some tips here. Okay, cleanup. One of the nice things about nachos is it's all in one. You get your veggies and you get your meat, you get and it just tastes wonderful. However, the cleanup, when you get that cheese that's melted on the pan, you're going to be soaking the pan for a while. One way to ease the cleanup is before you make the nachos is to line the pan with either aluminum foil or parchment paper. And just like Tim said, don't limit just like Mexican type flavor. You can do an Indian style nachos, and there's even an Asian. In fact, I was just looking at some on the Bon Appetit website, so check those out. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
And welcome back. The meat is done now. What I'm going to do is, this is a safety thing. I always like to change my spatula from what was touching that raw meat initially. So now I'm going to use a new spatula since this is cooked, and we're going to season the meat. I'm just using a standard McCormick taco seasoning. I could have used the taco seasoning I showed you guys at the demo at Roth's Fresh Markets this last year, but for those that didn't get to see that demo, I decided just to do it quicker, but you can find that on the website. It's quite tasty and easy. So we're going to add that. Part of our new thing for this season is we're doing our healthier living tips, and they'll show at the bottom of your screen. Our first one for this episode, you can find a 25% less sodium taco seasoning packet at most markets, and that would cut back on the amount of sodium in this nachos dish. As you can imagine, there is calories involved with the nachos, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to make it a little bit healthier and more beneficial for your body. So let's go ahead and add this. I did 1 pound, so that's 1 whole packet, and about 1/4 cup of water. And we're going to stir that in until it's well mixed. And also during this time, you should be preheating your oven to 350 degrees because we will be melting some cheese on the tortilla chips here in just a little bit. Okay, so while I let that heat and evaporate most of the liquid, we're going to head over here and start prepping the tortilla chip layers and start piling on this good stuff. Alright, so in the interest of time, I've already kind of prepped some of these vegetables. We are still going to cut the green onion here. So what we're going to do is we're going to, these bulbs, this is actually good eating material. It's actually the strongest part of the green onion, but we're going to cut off near to the roots here. So I'm going to slice those off. I'll get rid of those. Before I started cooking, I always thought cut away those white parts, but then I was told by one of my good family friends that it's actually one of the best parts of the green onion. A lot of flavor. And we're going to slice it into, I don't know, about maybe a quarter inch thick. And it's a nice accent on top of the nachos. I'm only going to cut maybe about a 1/2 cut because they don't go on every layer. They only go on the top layer after the nachos have baked, because this type of vegetable, as well as the tomatoes and the avocados, they tend to wilt under the heat. So you want to add them last when the nachos come out of the oven. All right. And what we have here is we have some black beans, some black olives, and some iceberg lettuce that's been shredded. And then we have some pico de gallo. This is exclusively found at Roth's Fresh Markets. It's nachos, and it's made down in Eugene, Oregon. I love supporting local companies. And then sour cream, and then of course Tillamook cheddar cheese that we will grate on this great contraption made by Salad Master. It makes grating cheese so much easier. All right, so let's go ahead and do the cheese here. I'm gonna start pushing it out here. I tend to usually do about a half a block of cheddar cheese. I'm gonna make two different kinds of nachos. We're gonna do one with that cheese sauce on it, and then one with straight cheddar cheese, because not everyone likes that cheese sauce on their nachos, my mom included. So I tend to make two different plates of nachos to cater to everyone's likes and dislikes. So while I continue to grate this cheese, let's send it over to Brenna, who has a fun segment planned for you. Brenna, what do you have for us?
Hey guys! Just got back from Mexico. I learned so many amazing things, like the culture there. We have the Aztecs, the Incas, and the Mayans. And I'd like to tell you a little today about the Mayans. I had the privilege on my trip to go to the Great Chichen Itza over there, which is their huge temple down outside of Cancun, Mexico, and swam in one of the local cenotes that they had there. It was amazing. But to top it all off, they had great cuisine. Who would have thought the Mayans, thousands of years ago, could make such great food? And to top it all off, the Mayans were at the forefront of agricultural engineering for their time. They were the very foundation of crop rotations and such, and by that, they were able to create amazing food. I was privileged to go to this amazing little tiny place on the Mar and go enjoy at Ixcaret some great Mayan food. We had cochinita pibil and some nice black bean soups and just amazing Yucatan potatoes and everything. And if there's one thing that I could tell you that you should be adding to those nachos, it would be the cochinita pibil. It is an amazing slow-cooked, earth-gathered kind of pork, and it's just so tender and so spicy. And Kevin, I think if you could, you might want to check it out. Have a great one, guys.
And welcome back. So as you see here, I did about a half block of cheese, like I said, and it comes out to approximately 2 to 3 cups of cheddar cheese. I'm going to set that over here, and I already put a single layer of chips down in the tray here, and I'll do the same right over here. As part of the healthier living segment that we are, or tips that we are doing in this season, I'd suggest foregoing the cheese sauce on your nachos and just doing the cheddar cheese. That will cut about 100 calories from a plate of these delicious nachos. So that is why I'm doing one tray of just cheddar cheese, and I'm going to do one tray with the cheese sauce. So it gives your guests some options. So let's go ahead and start the layering process. We're going to start first with the meat. So I'm just going to take it and kind of sprinkle it over the top. As the cheese sauce one is a bigger tray, I'm going to actually try to make this one closer to a triple layer. The cheddar cheese one will probably be a double layer. Then we're going to take the beans, and these you almost just plop some piles on the chips. And while I'm continuing to do this layering process, let's send it to the food trivia segment. And let's see if you can answer this. And did you get it? Well, we'll find out here in just a little bit when the answer is revealed. So what I've done is I put on the second layer on the main nachos. You don't actually put cheddar cheese on the one you're going to be putting the sauce on until the second layer. Now on the one that you are doing the cheddar cheese, you do them on both layers. So I wanted to show you that I put cheese on it. And then this bigger platter that I will be putting that cheese sauce on, I'm just about ready to actually put cheese on that one as well. But I put a second layer of chips that were evenly distributed in a single layer on top of that bottom layer. And because you want them as flat as possible so that they get even distribution of the meats and the beans and the cheeses. And then I'm going to put another single layer on the cheese one here. And see how I'm just separating out the chips and getting them as flat as possible. On top of that bottom layer. Remainder of the meat on the second layer here, and some more beans. And one more layer of the cheese. Remember, we are not putting any vegetables on these nachos until they come out of the oven. That will avoid the vegetables wilting. Alright, and then we're going to do one more layer on the main one, hence the name triple layer nachos. And while I'm doing the meat and the beans, we'll send it over to Tim's segment. What do you have for us, Tim?
Alright, welcome back to another exciting episode of In the Know with Tim. Today I'll be talking about a little more examples of how you can mix up your nachos. Nachos is such a great way to have at your game days, tailgating. Who doesn't love nachos? So I'm just going to give you a different variety to mix it up at your next tailgate. If you're in a hurry, you want nachos for breakfast, go ahead and have breakfast for nachos. There's a breakfast nacho recipe. It's called a breakfast skillet nacho. It has onions, chop onions, tortilla chips, 4 layers of eggs. So you know, it's a great hearty, good food. You can put whatever toppings you want to add on to your breakfast nachos. If you're craving a delicious, if your sweet tooth is going off, oh, this is going to be to die for a nacho recipe. It's called cinnamon chocolate nachos. It has tortillas, butter, sugar, ground cinnamon, whipped cream, brown sugar. Oh, this sounds delicious. Next time you want nachos and it's, you know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night and you're just craving that last little bit of substance for food, try this dessert nacho and you'll be good to go. Alright guys, have a great rest of your day. Have a good episode with Kevin and we'll see you next time.
Alright, so now we are going to put the cheese sauce on the big tray of nachos. So we're just kind of going to drizzle it over the top. And it should be liquidy enough that it kind of drizzles down over the other layers. But that's also why we put real cheese on it as well, so that it does cover every single chip. This is just more like a added flavor on the top. You want to get as much of the cheese sauce out as you can. This can be applied cold as well, it's just that it's thicker. So it's a little harder to have it go over all the chips, that's why I like to heat it. We are going to put this in the oven now at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes, just long enough to melt the cheese. Then we'll bring it out and we'll put on the vegetable garnish and serve it. Okay. So while those are heating, let's send it to the trivia answer. Let's see if you got it right. And welcome back. Did you get it right? I hope you did. I'm trying to teach you good kitchen techniques, food awareness through those trivia questions. I hope it's helping. I just finished cutting up some of this avocado into some smaller pieces, and the nachos are ready now. So we're going to grab those out of the oven. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we don't let them cool. We're just going to put the veggies right on and serve, because nachos are the best served hot. You don't want them cold. The cheese gets tough. You want it very soft. So I'm just going to kind of drizzle some of these tomatoes on the top as a garnish. Right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that green onion that we chopped earlier and sprinkle it on the top. And it adds delicious flavor as well as that green color that makes it stand out. And then next we'll put some avocado. Some people may think like avocado on it, but a very traditional side dish or topper in Mexican food is guacamole, and that is made with avocado. So it's basically like putting guacamole on the top, just without all the seasonings or without mashing the avocado slices. Trying to evenly space it out. Alright, now we're going to do the black beans. I thoroughly rinsed these in a strainer before using. I poured the can directly in because they do tend to have kind of a thicker syrup around them. So I thoroughly rinsed them. Then I'm going to put some shredded iceberg lettuce on the top. This you want just more like an accent. You don't want it too thick. Then we're going to do the olives. These, I have a secret little trick. I take it by the hold and I squeeze it and it breaks into pieces. Okay, there we go. Makes for a very easy olive placement and topping. Otherwise you have to do the tedious job of taking a knife and cutting every single one. This makes it a lot easier. I'll just put a few, possibly like, I don't know, 15 to 20 olives squeezed and broken on top. this one as well. Make sure it's nice, evenly dispensed. All right, and finally that nachos pico de gallo that I showed you earlier. I'm going to put some of that as a garnish on top. Add some extra flavor with the cilantro and the onion. I'm kind of draining some of the juice out before I put it on. And sour cream on the side. Not everyone likes sour cream, so I tend to leave it on the side for people to decide if they want it or not. So what I'm going to do here is I'll go ahead and demonstrate a serving of the nachos. I tend to just scoop right from the bottom spatula. All right. Scoop a little sour cream on there. And there we have it. A delicious centerpiece for any Super Bowl viewing party. And it is sure to make people asking for the recipe. And it's so easy. But don't tell them that. All right. Well, thank you for watching yet another week of Cooking with Kevin. I look forward to seeing you next week when we're going to be doing our grilling special. See you then.